Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight in our news.
NHI officials announced proposed changes to the plan.
Meanwhile, will government meet its budgeted revenue targets for the fiscal year? A former state minister for finance says he's not so sure. And the national security minister promising beefed up security at public schools.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, the National Health Insurance Scheme will now cost an estimated $130 million a year, according to the Managing Director of the National Health Insurance Authority. This as NHIA officials revealed nearly a dozen changes to its proposed policy on NHI during a press conference this morning. Jasmine Brown has the details in this report.
Whitmarsh outlined those proposed changes that he says was as the result of 100 days of consultation with 82 stakeholders. One of the biggest changes announced today was the estimated increase in the cost of funding NHI.
The mature program that we're looking at here with the amended policy we think is around $130 million, but we'll refine that as we go forward.
That estimate is up by $30 million. Back in October, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands said NHI would cost taxpayers $100 million per year. Today, Whitmarsh, who presented the revised policy paper, said adjustments were made as a result of feedback from stakeholders. One of the more significant proposed changes involves reducing a proposed salary tax to fund universal health care.
Many people suggested that higher income earners should contribute more and that lower income earners should contribute less. So what we've proposed now is to reduce that contribution by employees from 2% to 1% and remove the 50% cap. And what this means is that an employee paying $42,000 a year will pay less than they would before, but employees earning more than that will pay more.
The authority provided a breakdown of employers' monthly premiums for NHI based on their annual salaries. An individual who makes $10,000 per year, for example, minimum wage, would contribute $12.50 per month, while the employer would contribute $70.83 per month. That's $4.17 less than the initial proposal. On the higher end, employees who make $66,667 plus per year would pay $83.33 per month, while their employers would not contribute anything. Based on the old policy proposal, employees would not have been obligated to contribute more than $41.67. Whitmarsh says the scheme also has a new proposed rollout date of July 2020.
This is particularly helpful to the private health insurance industry that needs time to adapt the way it does business. It allows us perhaps 6 months to go forward when they'll still have a full 12 months before we would implement. And it also actually brings up the implementation of the smaller businesses from the 1st of January 2021 to the 1st of July 2020.
Whitmarsh noted that the recommended changes are just proposals, and the NHIA will be submitting its latest plan for a revamped NHI program to Cabinet for final approval. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. NHI officials also expect an increase in enrollment to just under 171,000. That represents an increase of 12,000 people.
In lifting the threshold from 100,000 to 250,000, we in effect have more people now that will seek services for NHI. Originally we had around 160,000 people who we estimated would be beneficiaries of NHI under the proposed new model. This would actually go up now to just over 70,000, so those individuals will come back. These will be individuals that principally work for those companies with revenue between 100,000 and 250,000. So this will see an increase in enrolled beneficiaries for us.
There are approximately 40,000 beneficiaries enrolled in the National Health Insurance Program. Former Minister of State for Finance, James Smith, says it will be difficult for government to collect $1.6 billion in taxes in the next 6 months and ultimately meet its revenue collection projections for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. This comes as the deficit reportedly fell by 31% compared to the same period in the previous year.
It seems like it's going to be very difficult to meet that target at the end of the year, and consequently, you're likely to have a larger deficit at the end of the year than was projected.
Government's 6-month fiscal snapshot also revealed that year-on-year revenue collection increased by 14.7% to $1.01 billion. According to government, the increase in revenue is largely associated with higher receipts of value-added tax. The VAT rate was increased from 7.5% to 12% in July 2018. Despite the higher VAT receipts, which currently total $399 million, government says it has only collected 38.1% of its annual budgeted revenue target of $2.6 billion. Smith explained why he thinks that target will be tough to achieve.
In the Bahamas, you get the majority of your revenue during the winter season, tourism. So anywhere from like November to about March. So they've still got 2 months. But the remaining months of this year are generally the slow months. So my guess would be that all things being equal, meaning no increase in any taxes or that sort of thing, they would be unlikely to meet $1.6 billion.
While year-on-year revenue collection increased, so did expenditure. As of December 2018, government spent $1,184,600,000. This time last year, it spent $1,131,880,000. The reason given for the increase, the continued settlement of budgeted arrears. With budgeted revenue projections seemingly falling short and expenditures picking up, Smith was asked if another increase in VAT is a solution to government's fiscal shortfalls.
It's not a good idea. I mean, even the first increase I thought was much too high, too soon. It was brought into effect almost at the same time we were just getting a turnaround with the opening of Bahama. So we have not been able to judge the full impact of opening that large hotel because you hadn't raised the price level. And it's not just to us, also to our visitors.
The budget deficit, which represents the difference in spending and revenue collected, also decreased by 31.4%. However, that $174.3 million figure is 2/3 of total projected deficit for the entire fiscal year. The former State Minister for Finance says balancing the budget isn't the be-all, end-all of running a country.
The government is constituted not just to balance the budget, but to make the lives of people better. And that's how you should judge them. Does it mean that we have improved the grade average in the schools? Killed the children who were once before not receiving proper meals, are they getting that? Level of crime, has that been reduced? These are the real measurements of how our economy is performing. And there seemed to be this overemphasis on the deficit, the revenue coming in, and it's more like a smoke screen. It doesn't bring comfort to the household where the head is unemployed.
Tensions ran high between the Minister of Finance and the Member of Parliament for Angleton as the debate for the loan to facilitate the digital transformation program took place last night. Giorgio Bain reports.
Parliamentarians debated and passed 2 resolutions to borrow $130 million from the Inter-American Development Bank, a contingency loan of $100 million to fund disaster management and $30 million for the digitalization of government systems. While the opposition wasn't happy about it, and with all 4 PLP members of Parliament voting against both resolutions.
Yes, you want to talk about Angleton? Let's talk about
Honourable member,
yes.
what is your point of order?
My point of order is...
It is not acceptable, Mr. Speaker. The member speaks about the disingenuous.
You're struggling with the wording.
No, ma'am. Don't cause me to have to say things that I don't want to say.
Go ahead.
This is just one of the heated arguments that erupted between Finance Minister Peter Turnquest and Angleton MP Glenys Hannah Martin during the debate for the $30 million IDB loan.
There's been some talk about the digital upgrades that have been undergoing for a while. And the truth of the matter is, yes, in the last F&M administration, they made significant upgrades. That's right. Mr. Speaker, time has moved on, technology has changed, and there have been further upgrades.
Turnquest also insisted that the $30 million loan was not unexpected.
This doesn't represent any new earth-shattering thing. This is already forecasted in the 2018-19 budget. So when they say that they can't support this new borrowing, they already voted for it.
The DPM argued that the upgrade is beneficial to future generations. However, Hannah Martin called on Turnquest to help the children of Black Point Exuma who need proper bathrooms at their school.
When you talk about the critical thinking and this forward-thinking thing, I agree with that. I agree with that. I believe in that. But I believe you should also give minimal basic standards that are suitable for small children in this country. So that works okay for you? So what I was saying to you, give the minister, you talk with the minister of education, give him the money so he can do what he needs to do. You're the minister of finance. And you believe in these things and these children and their development. So I'm saying, fix the toilet. Fix the toilet for the children in Black Point, please.
Considering the constituency that the member represents, should be the last person to be talking about improvements on outside toilets.
Turnquest said the government will not be distracted as it seeks to improve the country. Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Thanks, Giorgio. No school will be void of problems. Those words coming from the National Security Minister, who said despite the efforts his ministry and teachers are making to ensure campuses are safe, no school will ever be incident-free. Jillian Gray tells us more.
The attack of a male teacher on the campus of CV Bethel Senior High School has raised safety concerns for teachers in the public education system. However, National Security Minister Marvin Dames insisted increased police presence on campuses will not solve the problem.
These are all lessons, and we're not gonna. You put more police there. It's not gonna totally solve the problem. The bigger problem that we have is that we have to take control of our kids. We have to pay attention to them. We have to develop them. We have to nurture them, so that when they go into the school grounds, they're not being disruptive. And so that's a bigger problem.
Nonetheless, Dames said that stakeholders have come to the table to devise a plan of action.
All of the stakeholders in our meeting and looking at it, the Commissioner and I would have spoken. The Minister of Education and I would have spoken reference to these issues. And it's our business to ensure that our teachers are safe, that the schools are an environment for learning, as the Minister of Education would have stated a few days ago, and that the students, the vast majority of them who show up to get a learning, are not disrupted by a few misfits.
He added that they have mobilized a team to help ensure the school is kept safe.
It's incumbent upon us to ensure that the school environments are kept safe. And so we're assessing that. The Commissioner is, and his divisional commander, the divisional commander responsible for that area. And they're working to see what they can do to assist the principal and the teachers at the institution. And the minister and I are always speaking about school security and what can we do to improve on it.
Teachers at CV Bethel have submitted recommendations to the school to improve safety and discipline. However, Dames said teachers must realize that no school will be incident-free.
We're in a day and time now where you're not going to be devoid of instances. I remember as a young kid in school, you had the same thing. You had little fights and stuff on the schoolyard. You're going to have that. Not saying that that's okay, but I believe the Minister of Education said it correctly yesterday.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Still to come on our news, the Ragged Island MP accuses government of continuing to neglect the storm-ravaged island. Stay tuned for that.